Township Board of Trustees to order for Monday, August 4th. Clerk Dalrymple, will you please call the roll?
Chris Barnett.
Here.
Julia Dalrymple here. Matt Pfeiffer.
Here.
Mike Flood.
Present.
Carrie Hilgendorf will be here soon. John Carson.
Here.
And Jack Lovett.
Here. We have a quorum. Thank you all for joining us. Please, at the beginning of all our meetings, we always start with a pledge and an invocation. Tonight, our invocation will be led by Trustee Lovett. So if you'd all stand and stay standing for the pledge.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the grace that sustains our community, for calm days, safe streets, and the quiet work that often goes unnoticed. We are grateful for those who serve with integrity, for neighbors who care, and for the freedom to gather and govern. In a world filled with noise and need, help us not to overlook the blessings already around us. May we lead with thankful hearts and never lose sight of the good you have provided. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, this evening we have a public hearing. Tonight our public hearing is regarding a cost estimate for the Lake Orion Canals SAD number 4. So this is a third renewal of the weed treatment in the Lake Orion Canals. We did receive some written correspondence, but we will open this up now to the public. If you're here and you want to give comment on the proposed special assessment district renewal, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and give us your comments. Anyone here to address the LO Canals SAD?
Good evening. Christine Tucker, 1100 Leidig Street on the canals. I'm in favor of the renewal of the SAD program, and the cost estimate is minimal increase over what we had over the past 20 years, actually, within like $5. So we haven't had an increase in 20 years. So I'm in favor of it.
Great, thank you. Anyone else want to give public comment at this time?
Rick Kelso, 1099 Leidig Street on the canals. I'm also, as Chris said, in favor of the continued weed control and the SAD for the weed control, and just am in favor.
Thank you, Mr. Kelso. Anyone else? I'll give it to the clerk to read some feedback we've received via email.
We received notes from the following people. Mitchell Tucker of 385 Bay Point Road is in favor. James Tucker of 385 Bay Point Road also in favor. John Keeley, 330 Pine Tree Road in favor. Peggy and Dave Emai, 1066 Leidig Street. Michelle DePalma, 375 Bay Point Road. Renata Capozzoli, 1175 Arbrook Way. Stephen Bonikowski, 1139 Arbrook Way. Dave and Kathy Selena, 1011 Arbrook Way. John and Gail Ryan, 1112 Arbrook Way. Mary Jenkins, 1434 Heights Road. Nancy Rupert, 1254 Heights Road. Cindy and Rob Barrow at 1162 Arbrook Way, all in favor of.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wants to give public comment at this time? Seeing no one, come forward. Oh, sorry, please come forward.
I think I should, so I will. I've been around those canals.
Come to the microphone.
Name and address.
Yep, no problem, yeah.
Address.
Thank you.
Dwayne Decker, 397 North Shore Drive, Lake Orion. Not familiar with what you're going on here. I hear of all the okays. I do happen to live on the big part of Lake Orion, and I'm right next to the canals on North Shore Drive. I understand all the yeses and go ahead and everything's fine here, but started out going way back where everybody wanted weed control. They purchased their own granulates and they weed control their own yards, and that was wonderful. all of a sudden up pops, everybody's gonna vote for it. Got a few okayed because the ones that live on the canal doubled the price of their property. And some time ago, they taxed everybody on the lake now, as you people here sat on the board probably well know. Made the canals worth a lot of money. They're building houses on them, maybe good for the tax base, but not good for me, and not for the old-fashioned people who like the pollywogs and turtles and hear the frogs croak in the fall. And I've heard them all my life. Been where I'm at on the same street 70, 80 years ago. And like I say, we hunted pollywogs there when you couldn't get a boat through there. Now you can run a boat through there and a pontoon and 70-horse motor and the whole darn works. It's changed a lot. And my speaking here probably won't change a thing. But I would feel remorse if I didn't cement my thoughts on the actual thing that's happened to those canals. Starts way back. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I understand you got 3 minutes here. And I know we like to hold that closely because it's very important. People like me don't speak too much. So I think with that, I'm going to call it amen and just tell you myself, the town has changed, the canals have changed, not all for the better. And I think people who have been here for a while would understand that. If I lived on the canals, I'd vote yes. But being an old timer and lived in the village a long time, I vote no. But God bless, you do what you got to do, and I appreciate it. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Decker, for your comments. Anyone else want to give comments on the renewal of the Weed Control Special Assessment District? Seeing no one come forward, we'll declare that public hearing was held at 7:08. And we will be taking action on this item. It's the first item on tonight's pending business here this evening. Next item, we always take a few minutes each month to recognize some citizens that are going above and beyond. And tonight is no different. And Sam, I think my computer's done updating, so let's, if we can switch back over here. There it goes. It always picks the best time to do those updates, right?
Change your password.
Yeah, all right, so this evening, this is something really neat. You're gonna see this in an upcoming magazine. Does everyone receive their Orion Living magazines? Hopefully you do. But we want to talk a little bit about some folks that are going above and beyond during their summer, and this is the SPLAT Camp. Stands for Study, Play, Learn, and Talk. Camp brings connection and community to life for local youth during the summer months and runs 6 weeks. At SPLAT, they work on academics in the morning and ELA and math, and focusing on ELA and math. The afternoon, they participate in traditional summer camp activities that help develop cooperative play, teamwork, problem-solving skills. And then every Thursday is a local field trip for the students that brings them to places in the community to explore. This year they went to the athletic club for the pool at Addison Oaks, Collier Lane's a favorite spot in town. These are students who, while they might qualify for traditional summer school, have not attended in the past due to various barriers. So they're going into some of the tougher parts of our community, and the students in our district that need probably the most help. And their goal is to eliminate the barriers by going to the students. They have great partners. The program is offered at no cost to families, so it relies on fundraisings. The Township Board supports Orion Area Youth Assistance, who puts this program on every year. And other community members hopefully will consider maybe supporting this in the future. It's been working really well, and we had the opportunity to meet with Lauren Smith and others. Lauren's here tonight. So, Lauren, if you could come to the podium for a minute and fill in any gaps that I have left out. But it's a great opportunity, and they've seen great results in these students who, a lot of times, once you get behind, it's hard to get caught up. And some of these vulnerable students really never do get caught up. So, anything I missed that you want to share?
You did a great job. SPLAT has been around. We started it out of Paint Creek Elementary, just with district funds at that time. You can see from the picture, that's one of our teachers, and about probably 25 of our 35 students that are enrolled at that site. SPLAT started because kids needed extra support during the summer, and we knew that we were not getting them into our traditional summer schools. We thought, well, we'll offer a bus from Paint Creek and we'll be able to do it, and we still couldn't get them on the buses and to attend. These were our kids back in 2014 and 15 that were really struggling with a lot of needs and really were feeling families needed a lot of additional support. So Splat was started and we took it right out into the community. We run 16 hours a week, 4 days a week, 4 hours a day from 9 to 1. We knew we needed to make it engaging and fun, but we also wanted to make it of value. We needed to be able to help kids build team building skills and learn how to play cooperatively. Those are a lot of skills a lot of kids are missing when they come to school now. In addition, our kids were really my kids that were having a lot of behavior referrals, and we were spending a lot of time and a lot of energy, and we really felt like we weren't making the connection with our students in this neighborhood during the school year. Our data from Splat shows those behavior referrals. Those kids are never in trouble. I just love them so much. They do a wonderful job, and the connection, that they build with staff and with our social worker that's out there is really phenomenal. So when they come back to school, they're ready for learning. They feel engaged and connected to our community, the greater community, not just the school community, which is really nice to see. An additional benefit was we were able to really build connections with families. Families who are at risk for a variety of reasons need a lot of different support, and it was helping them get connected to the fabulous community resources that we have. Splat went away with COVID, funding dried up. We ended up with a private donor who said, bring it back. We started it back at Parkhurst, which is the group you're seeing, and then we received the 4C community grant of $20,000 2 years ago, and we were able to open a second site at another Orion community that needed some additional support. So right now we run 2 Splat programs. We're in our 5th week. The kids are super excited. Scores are going up. Our goal was to eliminate summer slide. We do some pretty formal assessments as kids come in. We do assessments as they're leaving. We take a look at a lot of our discipline referrals and any playground issues that might arise because we really want data to track the quality of our program and what our kids and families are getting out of that. So this year, about 70 students. We've had a great, great summer, and all of our funding comes from grants or private donations or local businesses. And the community has been very generous, but it costs us around $50,000, and almost all of that goes into our many staff members, our people who are on site, the social workers, the teachers, and the paraprofessionals, along with food, as we feed them breakfast and lunch every day. So it's a phenomenal program. We'd love to show it off. And if anyone is so inclined at any time to donate, please know that we are open to that as well. So thank you.
No problem.
I thought you left us off the agenda.
No.
So I did
No,
bring.
so don't go far. We're gonna have you come up here in a second and take a picture with all of us, but we like to take a few minutes each month to recognize folks that are going above and beyond, and your team. By the way, Lauren is the principal at Pink Creek Elementary, also serves on the board of the Orion Area Youth Assistance, but tonight we want to recognize you, the Township Board, in recognition of your exceptional commitment to the youth development and education during the summer months, and all of your team, and I know you'll share this with them, because Splat exemplifies the spirit of service, creativity, and community connection. So you all are awarded our Citizen of the Month Award for the month of August 2025. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You want to come up?
Thank you.
The board wants to kind of gather here. Congrats and thanks for coming. Here, let's go to the middle, and then we'll get a nice photo, so you'll be on the wall of fame. A professional photographer over there. So professional.
Thank you, Lauren.
Perfect, thank you.
So that is Splat, and when we first went over to meet with the folks of the OAYA board, which is an amazing group of community volunteers, it's just one more thing that happens in our community that not everyone hears about all the time or knows about. So we wanted to take a few minutes to talk about it today. Hopefully, those of you here or watching, the millions of people watching from home, might be interested in supporting this great program going forward. And stay tuned to a future issue of Orion Living where you learn more. So with that, we will move on in our agenda to approval of our bills. They are in the packet. I will put them on the screen. Is there a motion to approve tonight's bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills in a total of $2,093,000, $820.75.
Okay. There it is. So that was moved by Dalrymple and supported by Carson. Any comments or questions from board members on the bills? Any public comment on the bills this evening? Seeing no one rush forward, Clerk Dalrymple, please call the roll.
Dalrymple, yes. Pfeiffer?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Carson? Yes. Lovett?
Yes.
Barnett?
Yes, and
Hogendorf? Yes. Okay.
welcome, Carrie. Next item on tonight's, the bills are paid. That passes 7-0. Next item on tonight's agenda is brief public comment. These are on items that are not on tonight's agenda. If you hear about something that's on the agenda, we'll give you a chance to talk to us at that time. Would anyone like to give public comment on non-agenda items? Come on forward. Name and address for the record, and we ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. And it's not because we don't want to hear from you, but so we can get through all our business tonight.
My name is Ron Price. I live at 829 Pine Tree Road West. There are township officials, along with code enforcement officers, that are working in our neighborhood on a problem, and I would like to thank them. I'm here because this is the second year in a row that we've had this problem. And I would like to make sure that we can eliminate this problem. I don't know what the process is to create, change, amend, whatever ordinance we need to change, but it needs to be changed because right now the code enforcement officers do not have the tools to take care of this problem. So whoever's in charge, or whoever takes the lead on changing ordinances or starting new ordinances, I would like to urge them to start now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Anyone else want to give public comment at this time? And I am aware of that issue, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. Anyone else? We will close public comment and bring it back up here to tonight's agenda. Next item on tonight's agenda is approval of the agenda. I do not have any changes. Are there any changes or a motion to approve?
Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved by Flood, supported by Pfeiffer. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Next item is tonight's consent agenda. All of these items will be approved with one vote. If you're here on any of these items to speak on them, you can come forward to the podium now, but I'll read them so everyone watching from home can hear what we're voting on. We'll be approving our minutes from our August 4th meeting, setting a public hearing on ordinance 154 violations, setting a public hearing for the proposed Paint Creek Ridge Stormwater Maintenance SAD number 1, approving a temporary intergovernmental license agreement with the Village of Lake Orion on that same issue, Paint Creek Ridge Stormwater Maintenance, approving a service agreement for our EV chargers, receiving and filing and approving the priority waste delinquent accounts and moving forward, hopefully, in that chapter, approving the 25 through 27 Marine Patrol Services Agreement, approving a solicitation request for Aaron's Snack Attack, approving a street closure for High Hill Drive for their annual party, and approving the fire department physicals. There's a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I'll make a motion,
Go ahead, Ms.
I'll make a
Hilgendorf.
motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved by Hilgendorf and supported by Flood. All right, first, any board comments or questions on any of the listed items? Any public comment on any of these items? I have a couple comments I'll just share. Did you say something?
Oh, go ahead.
We are in the process of getting our EV chargers back online. We received an email this weekend from a resident that's frustrated. The company that we purchased them from went out of business, so we're in the process, thanks to Sam Timko, and procuring a new vendor that can help us get those back online, and this is the next step to get that to happen. The Paint Creek Ridge Stormwater Maintenance Special Assessment District has been a frustrating one for residents for sure, I'm sure. We had a public hearing here, or an informational meeting here, to explain to the residents the importance and why we need to do this. But it's not a fun one. It's not one where they're getting their weeds treated in their lake or their road paved. But it's the stuff that you don't normally see, and that's the infrastructure under the ground. So thank you to the residents for their patience on this. I want to thank the village for their agreement to allow us to do that work, or let the contractor do that work from the East Lawn Cemetery that is owned by the village in the township boundaries. I will note, just for the record, that savings is about $100,000 for the contractor to do the work by accessing it through the cemetery. It's not 50% as was stated in the village council meeting. I'll also note for any residents that's here watching from home that's nervous or frustrated about this, there's been a lot of discussion with the village. And while this will help save money, the village is not agreeing to participate in sharing of the cost of the cleaning out of the retention pond. That said, we've had lots of discussions with them, with the village manager, DPW director, and other staff, that if they will not be able to add sediment to that pond. So once the pond is clean, if there is sediment coming from the village into that pond that's degrading the life of that pond, we will unfortunately have to go forward with ordinance enforcement with the village, but we've talked to the village about that, and the village manager in a meeting in our office agreed that that would be understandable. So this agreement, just to be very clear, does not absolve the village from future participation, assume if they are adding to sediment to that pond. So I wanted to say all those things because there's been a lot of discussion, and I want to thank the residents of those subdivisions who've been patient through this process. The least thankful job in the world is being on a homeowners association board. And so thank you to those people that have done that in those neighborhoods. Those are my comments. Yes, Ms. Dalrymple.
One other note too, on the solicitation request, we had got a comment or two that it was hard to see the name tags that we were providing to solicitors. They were like the pin-on style, like if you've ever been to a meeting, that kind of a style. So today we updated that, and they're now laminated, hole punched, and have a lanyard with them. So we figured that was an easier way to make sure that you could be able to easily identify someone. It still has all their credentials on it, and we'll keep looking to update that. And then I think you're gonna go to the website too. But we wanted to make sure that if someone was like, oh, I didn't want to pin it to my shirt, I forgot it, I didn't know where it was, we've now taken that issue away because it's a plain lanyard that everybody can wear. So you should be seeing those coming here in the near future.
And these are, do you want to tell what this is?
Oh, yeah, so this is the website. So if you go to the clerk's office website, you can look in here, and if you click on any single one of these, you will see all of the people who are approved to be in our neighborhoods. They have background checks, they come in and fill out the application, we know their insurance, we know what cars they're driving. So if someone ever comes to your home and you're like, where's your name tag, where's your information? If they do not exist on this site, you can call the phone number that's right at the top, and we can get you some help to kind of see who's supposed to be out there, but these are all of the people who are here in Orion Township.
All right. Yes. Is there any public comment on any of these items? I think I said that, but we'll offer it one more time. I saw a hand raised in the back.
That phone number's great, but is that 24 hours?
Yes.
Okay.
That phone number is the non-emergency sheriff's office.
Okay.
248-858-4911.
It doesn't say what it is, so I just want
Sorry.
to know, because a lot of these solicitors do come after hours.
Yeah.
And it does say on their tag when they're supposed to be there, so definitely if that's something that's happening, let us know, and you can call the number and let them know, so we can directly communicate with everyone from that company. So thank you.
And there's nothing we enjoy more than politely escorting people knocking on our doors out of the community that aren't doing it through our proper procedures. And that's all set up to keep our residents safe. We are the safest community in the entire state of Michigan, population our size, 5 years in a row. All right, seeing no other comment, we will call the roll on tonight's consent agenda consent agenda items. Thank you.
Pfeiffer.
Yes.
Lovett.
Yes.
Hilgendorf.
Yes.
Flood.
Yes.
Dalrymple, yes. Carson.
Yes.
Barnett.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. All right, that brings us to our pending business tonight. We have 3 items. First is that Lake Orion Canals Water Quality Control Special Assessment District Number 4, action after hearing. We held the hearing just a few minutes ago, and I will bring this back down on the screen. Again, this is a renewal Typically, the renewals, the hard one is the first one. The renewals typically go fairly smooth. This is initiated by the residents that live in the district. The monies collected will be used to treat the weeds in those areas with the same oversight that we've had since we put this in place. And I appreciate what Mr. Decker brought to our attention. I know at least no one on this board was in place when those canals were dredged and added to the lake, and I have read the history, and it is certainly somewhat controversial, but that is in the past, and we are moving forward. So with that, Mr. Pfeiffer.
Just one comment. Another resident from the canals, Greg Rogers, also just texted his support for the SAD. And these are Dwayne's comments notwithstanding. These are the good things. These are the ones where everybody in the community that it's affected has agreed to the cost, to the benefit. And I wish everything we dealt with fell into that nice tight category. But thank you to the residents that have come out and tonight to share their feelings. But for all the residents that sent in letters, we do work for you, and we appreciate you taking the time to let us know what you want. So thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to move to adopt the attached resolution authorizing the preparation of the special assessment rule for the Lake Orion Canals Water Control SAD number 4.
Support.
Moved by Dalrymple, supported by Pfeiffer. Any comments or questions from board members? Any additional public comment at this time? So if this moves, come on forward, please.
Dwayne Decker, 397 North Shore Drive, Lake Orion. As I sat and listened to the comments, which were few, I couldn't help but bring to mind dollars and cents and how this came about as far as all the property owners on the lake paying taxes on this service that's guided towards the canals. Just to give you an example, I live on the lake, I say, and have for a long time, but what has happened is more affected the lake than it has the canals. I just pass this on for public information. Not that there'll be anything said or done about it but today, but through true experiences is with the weed killer, which they put in front of my yard for the last several years, 10 I think, and the money's been renewed. It changes the whole lake in regards to weeds, certainly. And of course, when you affect the weeds in a big body of water like Lake Orion, you affect the fishing. And to give you a small example, it was important to me as a great-grandfather. My kids used to fish off the dock with a bobber and a little worm, and they'd catch a couple of little fish, and it was a lot of fun and games, and they enjoyed it from the time they were about 3 years old till 10. But what's happened now, the fish are not close to shore anymore. They have gone out with the weeds. As the weeds went out, so because of that, a fish periodically off the end of the dock, but nothing like it used to be. So it's not only affected the canals, it's affected the whole lake as far as the weed control and what it's done to the property owner. And it has cleared up the weeds around the entire lake. So what I think it's set out to do and clear up the canals, it's done well. I think everybody who lives on the lake has paid the full price for the generosity to clear up the canals, if you call that beneficial for the community. So I thought I'd pass that on, not for any special reason other than what's actually happened to Lake Orion. You know, I'm probably too old to speak on the matter, but that is what's happened in my lifetime, a big change, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Any other public comment at this time? Close the public comment, and I'll just note for the residents, if it wasn't clear, and I apologize, there are two different weed control treatment SADs on Lake Orion. This is for the canals. Then we have the largest SAD in the township. I think there's a little over 900 parcels. And that's for the entire lake. Just to correct something that was just stated, the only people that are paying for the weed treatment of the canals are the people on the screen. if your parcel falls in that dark shaded area, you are in the special assessment district, and this is not news, because this is the third renewal. This is the fourth time we've done this special assessment district. So, no one else in the township or on Lake Orion are paying for the weed treatment of the canals. It's only the people in that special assessment district. The second SAD that exists on the lake, that will be coming for renewal soon, for its first renewal, does the larger lake, and all the lakefront frontage parcels are in that one. So just wanted to make sure that that was clear. And we say all the time, an SAD is the truest form of a tax. No one likes taxes, but it is a specific citizen-initiated tax. So we typically don't start them from the board level. Usually it's a resident that comes to us with a problem. I want to pave my road. I want to chloride my road. I want to treat the weeds in my lake. I want to run the power to keep the lake filled. Those are some of the SADs we have, and we collect the monies only from the people that benefit, and we spend the monies typically on the contractors that are selected by the residents. So we basically are just a collection tool. We don't skim off the top. We don't intermingle it with other funds here at the township. The monies raised from this special assessment district do exactly what we say we're going to do, treat those weeds in that, and those canals and those parcels. So there's your SAD 101 for today. No other comments, and there is a motion and support. Mr. Flood.
Follow up on that, too. I believe back in the day that this was all initiated by the Lake Orion Lake Association, Lowland.
Well, they helped initiate the larger one. I don't
Yeah.
think they initiated the canals. This was initiated by.
There's quite a controversy on the canals not being treated, and they couldn't get that all.
That's how the larger one started, because it was just an opt-in process, so residents could decide, and people came to us and said, you know, I'm paying every year and my neighbor is, but 3 neighbors down isn't, and obviously the treatment doesn't just stay right in front of you.
Right,
So
exactly.
that's how that one kind of got legs.
Yep.
Yes.
Christine Tucker, 1100 Leidig. Sorry to be out of line, but I've been doing this for 25 years with the SAD for the canals. And the SAD for the canals, our first one was a 5-year, and then we did 2 10 years. So this is the last year of our 10 years. So the canal SAD was just the canals. Had nothing to do with Lola. There were no people from Lola involved on our board or any of that nature, because we were Marina Park Estates and Marina Point. Those homeowners encompass the canal homes. So Lola had nothing to do with it.
Right.
They jumped in and did their own SAD, I'll say 10 years ago. I don't know
Yeah.
how long it was, but we've been doing it for 25 years.
Yeah, and thank you for your service, because it doesn't happen without work. And one note too, I think one of these, we had some funds left over, and the question was, what happens to those monies? They go right into the next project. So we don't ever keep those dollars. It's all very transparent, the accounting of that. And you can see those funds called out in our audit every year, in our annual audit. You can see all those funds and where they stand with their balances as well. All right, so we've had some discussion, moved by Dalrymple, supported by Pfeiffer. I think it's a resolution, and I say let's do a roll call vote just to be safe.
Hogendorf.
Yes.
Carson. Yes. Dalrymple, yes. Pfeiffer.
Yes.
Barnett.
Yes,
Lovett.
Yes.
Flood.
Yes.
motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next item is a rezone request. This is a second reading. This was before us not long ago. This is called F&D Silverbell rezone request. I'll put it up on the map, but it's the southwest corner of the intersection of M24 and Silverbell, a little sliver based on the known users that we have now, needs to be rezoned. This is the second reading. I'd entertain a motion at this time. Mr. Pfeiffer.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to declare that the Board of Trustees held and approved the second reading on August 4th, 2025 for PC 25-26 F&D Silverbell, a request to rezone an irregularly shaped area that totals approximately 2.17 acres of vacant land, parcel number 0935-100-019, located at the southwest corner of Silverbell and Lapeer Roads, from Industrial Park IP to General Business GB, for the reasons and conditions given in the recommendation of approval by the Planning Commission on June 18th of 2025.
Support.
Okay. And we had the applicant here last time. I don't know if they're here this time. But if there's any questions, our planning director's here. And this is pretty straightforward. Any questions from board members? Any public comment? Seeing none, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Carson? Yes. Hogendorf?
Yes.
Pfeiffer?
Yes.
Barnett?
Yes.
Dalrymple, yes. Flood?
Yes.
Lovett?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Next item is safety path regulation, ordinance 97, and this is unique. This is the first, I've been here sitting in this chair for 13 years, and this is the first time we've done one of these, so I want to try to make sure we can explain it properly and maybe even lean on Brittany a little bit, our township attorney, Ms. Ellis. But this is a request to adopt a resolution tentatively determine the maintenance and repair of the sidewalks within the subdivision known as the preserves may necessarily need repair for condition of disrepair. So on April 25, a resident from the preserves raised concerns about the sidewalks within the subdivision, and upon review of the deed restrictions and declarations of covenants, conditions, and restrictions for the preserves, no evidence was found indicating the homeowners association is responsible for the maintenance, repair, or replacement of the sidewalks. So we met with there's been several meetings and discussions with the homeowners association. Of note, on May 27th, we met with the HOA to determine if they would be interested in amending the deed restriction to include the sidewalk as part of their common elements. While this requirement under the ordinance 97, this is a current requirement under our sidewalk and safety path ordinance. For new developments, it was not required when the preserves was platted in 1994. So the homeowners association, or member, requested a 30-day period for the HOA board to decide what action they would take, if any. Upon the expiration of that timeline, the HOA provided notice it does not intend to undertake that process. So under state law, Township Board may order the repair and maintenance of sidewalks in order to protect the public health, safety, and welfare by establishing a special assessment district, as we talked about a couple times already tonight, in accordance with state law. And if we find repairs are necessary, we could either complete the work and spread the costs over 5 years or allow property owners to perform the work themselves according to township ordinances and specifications. So this is unique in that a lot of folks don't maybe realize that the majority of neighborhoods that have sidewalks, those sidewalks are the responsibility of the people that live in those neighborhoods. The sidewalks and safety paths that are on our main thoroughfares are under the jurisdiction and maintenance of, generally speaking, the township, sometimes the road commission. But we are not in the business of going into subdivisions and fixing sidewalks. We don't collect taxes to do that. So that's why we're here to talk about this. If the reason we met with the homeowners association, if some folks are here about this item, is very candidly, the homeowners association is going to be able to do these repairs much more cost effectively than the township could through a special assessment district process. That's a fact. Our township engineer is here. There are certain things that we're required to do that homeowners associations are not required to do, but ultimately drives the cost. I've lamented over the years and publicly often, even from this seat, that we pay prompt, we pay on time, we have the money to pay, and we pay government pricing. It's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. For any project we do, we generally pay a premium than a private homeowner or homeowners association or a private group would pay. I wish I could explain why, because if I was a contractor and knew I was doing work for Orion Township and I could see their fund balance and see that all these things are approved in meetings like this that are recorded and documented, you're sure to get paid, but that's not how it works. So we encourage the homeowners association to really take a hard look at this. This doesn't mean they still can't. But that I think we can unequivocally say that will be a cheaper fix for this. The residents in the preserve subdivision will be paying for these fixes. It's just a matter of how they're going to be paying for that. So this will be the first step, if this moves forward, for us to kind of start that process. OHM, our township engineer, would then be involved in going out and assessing the pavement conditions, figuring out what needs to be fixed. But any laws that have changed since 1994 as it relates to pedestrian safety we would need to bring to current standards. So all the ADA changes and things like that. In other words, it's more money. I'm speaking very plainly. Mr. Stevens might be able to speak more engineering-ish, but that's the way I would break it down for folks that are here to listen to this item. So that's what we're here to talk about. We unfortunately don't have a pot of money to fix all the subdivision sidewalks. I know we have a village council member here. They're in the process of doing the same thing in the village. The residents that have the sidewalks in front of them that need repair are responsible for paying for them as well. It's generally how it works in communities in Michigan, the way our taxes are set up. So that is kind of the outline. I'm happy to answer questions, but I know Mr. Stevens can as well, or Ms. Ellis on the legal side of things. Are there comments, questions, or a motion from the board first? Mr. Pfeiffer.
I do have a few questions maybe for our attorney. Just in regard to the documents that are here, I believe the master deed, in section 6.28, for the easements, it does indicate that public walkways, which I would assume are sidewalks, are indicated on the record in the plats for the subdivision. So even though it says in there that it's in the plat, it's not actually.
We reviewed the plat, and the engineer reviewed the plat as well, I believe, and so did the planning and zoning director. We've all kind of sat and gone through it, and we did not find that the sidewalks were depicted on the plat back in 1994.
And then a couple other items, just for clarity, I just want to make sure that these wouldn't actually be the responsibility of the residents individually. In section 6.13, maintenance of side strips, says owners of lots shall be responsible for the maintenance of parkways of public rights-of-way located between their lot lines and the edges of the street pavements on which said lots abut. So is that?
We looked at all this language, and we didn't find that it was persuasive enough for the HOA to feel, this is my understanding, and if there's any HOA representatives here, they can speak as well, but they didn't feel comfortable that they had incorporated those sidewalks such as to give them the authority to assess an SAD, which we clearly as the township have that authority under both our ordinance and state law. So I'm not saying there wasn't a gray area, but it was more clear cut that the township did have that authority, and the HOA wasn't willing to, at least to date, that could change, but as of this time, they weren't willing to amend their deed restrictions to affirmatively state that those sidewalks were part of their common elements and that they would have the right to assess the residents for that common element.
I guess the other question I have is, would this, if there were to be a special assessment district, would it be a one-time thing, or would this be ongoing? Because I went through the subdivision, there's really, the majority of the sidewalks are actually in really good condition. There's just a few that they're heaved because of the tree roots, basically. Most of the ones that are in bad condition are near trees, which probably have to dig through the roots, which might kill the tree. But there are a lot of very large trees in the neighborhood for the space, so I can see that this might continue to happen over time. So one special assessment might not be enough, so to speak.
Yeah.
So the special assessment district can only be 5 years under the statute, so once we make that repair, they would have to come back to the board to start that process again if the sidewalks were damaged, but there's always the opportunity in the interim for the HOA to incorporate those as part of their common elements, which as a supervisor indicated would have benefits for them.
And that's the big difference between living in a township and living in a city. Your taxes are much lower in a township, the services provided are much less. And that's a lot of people, some people really like that, some people don't, but that's, especially if people have moved here from a city and are used to a city taking care of these things, that's the difference. And you brought up a really good point. I mean, I think it's kind of along the lines, we do these homeowners association forums, we started them about 7 or 8 years ago, at least once a year, where we open it up to all the HOAs. I mean, it's open to the public, but typically it's HOA board members. And we try to educate on these types of things, because in the most communities, most associations probably should look at their due structure and be doing these types of repairs. And the big one that lots of folks don't even realize is the storm water pipes and retention and detention ponds. Those are not going to be fixed by the road commission or MDOT or the Water Resource Commission for Oakland County, or the township. And so it's a really important thing to look at the due structure. No one wants to pay more HOA dues, but, I mean, to both of your points, the direction we're headed with this conversation, I don't know the number, but, $100 or a couple $100 a year might help build a pot of money in a sub that could do these repairs and almost have, one of the ideas we've talked about with a different subdivision was having a concrete repair person almost on retainer, and they have kind of a set rate. When they shave down a section, it's this many, this much per foot and things like that, and they're just kind of chipping away at it over the years. When we come in, just to be clear, we are forced to build to today's standards across the board. So it will, I talked to Mr. Stevens, our engineer, and I don't know, I'll let you maybe just give a couple thoughts on this, Jim, as you've been our engineer since 1999, almost as long as the sub's been in place. But we can't cut corners, and that's a good thing. We're not trying to cut corners in that way, but it's hard for us to find cost savings. I mean, when we come in and do it, it's going to be pretty expensive, and maybe we can, where they might be able to come in and shave a section down. There's machinery that will do that to cut the gaps. We require a certain thickness, so we're going to have to take out whole sections, and trees might come down. I don't know, Mr. Stevens, do you have anything you want to add on this or more color to the conversation?
Sorry, Jim Stevens. There's just, there's certain requirements per, different standards. One of the more prevalent ones is the American with Disabilities Act and the standards for slopes and those things. So, as an example, cross slopes have to be less than 2%. If it's 1.9 or 2.1, the naked eye, you wouldn't be able to probably tell, but one of them is in compliance, one of them is out of compliance. And so when you go through, neighborhoods, and this is just one example, but when you go through neighborhoods, they, check the slide cross slope of a sidewalk, and if it's greater than 2%, it's technically out of compliance, needs to be repaired or replaced or fixed, so that's in compliance. So there's just gonna be a lot of those items that, that's just the nature of bringing something up to standard. And the one point I do want to make is, sidewalk is just like a lot of things. I mean, you might fix it in year 1, and in year 7, you might have to fix it again, especially as trees grow and things get out of whack. Like, the sidewalks are going to move and adjust over time. And so, just like anything, it's an ongoing maintenance. Cities, oftentimes will have like sidewalk programs, and they're annual things that they, have to repair sidewalks on an ongoing basis, almost in perpetuity. On a smaller scale, hopefully you don't have to do that, but you certainly will have to do it, over time, in repairing sidewalks to make sure that they're in compliance.
And the other thing, just to note, once if this moves forward, which that's the recommendation, because we have been we've been noticed, so it's hard for us to not take action on it. When we start this process of the inspections and understanding what needs to be repaired or replaced, it will likely cause sections to be closed. We will have to close sections of the path. Now, people will maybe still try to use them and ride their bikes around them and things, but once we're brought in, we can't unsee what we see. So again, just a note, and the SAD process takes time. Those of you who are here and you've done this doesn't happen in a few weeks. This takes probably 4 or 5 months to get through the whole process and then hire the contractor. So you could have sections of the path closed in your neighborhood with tape or cones depending on how the construction season hits. We're not going to probably get anything built this year. So probably till the spring. So just want to be clear, and it's not a threat or fear mongering. It's just we want to be very transparent. So when the calls do start coming here, that's part of this process. So with that, that's the overview. First, I entertain a motion, and then we'll open up to public comment. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt the resolution to tentatively determine that maintenance or repair of sidewalks within the subdivision known as the Preserves may be necessary due to being in condition of disrepair, and directing staff to prepare the necessary cost estimates in advance of the board considering the setting of a public hearing to establish a potential SAD district.
Support.
All right, moved by Dalrymple, supported by Pfeiffer. All right, now, open up to public comments or questions. Again, if you can come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. We do not do a back and forth dialogue, so if there are questions, I'll write them down, and then once we get all the public comment, we'll have either the attorney, the engineer, or one of us try to answer them. Is anyone here to give public comment on this item today?
Hello, Scott Sharon, 2692 Aubrey Drive. I want to bring up, you guys talked about ADA within our subdivision, if it's this 1.9% or 2.1%. The township's actually required by ADA to have a transitional plan, an ADA transitional plan. So I'm going to be requesting that by FOIA to see that. So if you're going to require our sidewalks to meet 100% ADA requirement, your transitional plan for your own public sidewalks throughout that you guys maintain, your safety pathways, things like that, will define within your transitional plan how you're making sure that you're making those ADA compliant. So I just want to make sure that if we're going to play this both ways, the transitional plan will dictate that, and that's by Public Act number 1 of 1976 of ADA. Transitional plan has been developed a little bit more later on, and you actually have to show a plan, and it's a 3-year plan every 3 years to develop that plan, how you guys are dealing it, how you're making sure you're actually meeting the requirements of your plan to ensure ADA compliancy. So I'm a support of the sidewalks being done within our subdivision. One of the things of the HOA, if we take over the responsibility, let's just say it's $100,000. That means the association has to put up $100,000 and then bill each homeowner individually. Rather than if, as a township, you guys would fund the $100,000, you would individually bill the homeowners, you would put the liens on the properties if people don't pay. It wouldn't be the responsibility of the HOA, which can be a huge cost for a subdivision to do so. And so that's why I want the township board to do this work to push homeowners to do it. And you brought up a comment, if I have a second, that it would be the people are responsible for the sidewalks in front of their home. I just want to make sure that's still the case. So if the homeowners that have made repairs over the years, their sidewalks are good, or he said they have an opportunity to fix their own sidewalks in front of their house, if they do those things, then they would not be part of the role because they've met the ordinance requirements within the whatever guidelines that you guys are putting within those requirements. So, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else want to give public comment?
Greg Martin, 3900 Sequoia. I guess the question, it goes along the lines of the ADA, because I live on a corner, so I have two paths that lead to the street. And I know with ADA, there's things for ends. And one of my corners is been damaged by the plows of road commission. So do those corners fall to the road commission versus the homeowner for that? And handling the ADA, because I'm willing to replace my, pieces of concrete that need to be repaired, but of course I don't know what's required for a corner. That's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Anyone else want to have a comment or question?
Wayne Provo, 2695 Brentwood Drive. My first time here, so I'll just get to the point. We have already taken it upon ourselves to pay for the sidewalks in front of our house, and we paid for that out of our pocket. So I am against paying for somebody else's disrepair. I just want to make that perfectly clear. My wife and I walk the neighborhood every day, okay? And Carrie, I think you're right when you say that there really aren't that many bad pieces of sidewalk in there. I don't see any reason why homeowners can't take it upon themselves to take care of their own sidewalks, as opposed to getting the township involved and ballooning this into a $100,000 project or more, who knows? If these sidewalks were never put in by any code, they weren't on the plats to start with, just the thought of bringing all these sidewalks up to code, we have no idea what that could cost. So it just doesn't seem like a good idea to me to have the township get involved here for the relatively few bad pieces of sidewalk that we have. And again, I've already paid for my own out of my pocket, so it didn't seem like a big deal to me. And I don't think it's asking too much if you're a homeowner to repair your own sidewalks. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Jake Perryman, 2701 Aubrey. With the lack of engagement, after this, could you guys go over what the actual SAD process is? We are not lucky enough to have 25 years of this, so can we, there's a second meeting notice kind of thing in the agenda from prior ones, so today, and you said it's not a short process anyways, but this month, is there more information next month available, and then there's a conversation and then a vote? Like, what timeline does that look like for the board, for both boards? You've mentioned the HOA board can re-engage that conversation or kind of retake back the ownership of it. Is there they had 30 days, it's been 30 days. When does the town, obviously when the township votes on it, the township votes on it, but is it the Friday before that board meeting, the board calls up and says, hey, we got this, we're gonna take over, and then it's done? And then last but not least, kind of to that point is, I guess it's up to the survey, but I have a corner lot, I have 42 pads of concrete. So if it's, like, what does that look like? Is it, we count every pad, there's 300 houses in the neighborhood, total divided by 300? Is it, you have 42 pads? Like, what kind of options? And my hope is maybe that kind of, as the process goes through, that kind of becomes clear. And then obviously in 5 years, all those really nice young trees will have heaved it again, and we will be here in 7 years having something similar, maybe, or maybe not, but thanks.
Thank you. And I'm writing all these down, so we will, once we take all the comments, we will come back up here. Anyone else? Yes.
Good evening, my name is Renata Bailey, address is 2680 Shadow Lake Drive. We are in a preserve. I would like to address that part where it was mentioned that this was brought to the HOA board's attention. However, that may have been true. None of the homeowners were notified of this to call a separate meeting to have the opportunity to discuss this further and how the actually homeowners would like to proceed moving forward before this whole thing has came about. So I think it would be beneficial to possibly put a pause on it, if it's possible, for maybe about 30 days, to have an opportunity to call an HOA meeting and have the homeowners possibly get together and discuss this, whether or not we could come to a resolution to keep this within the preserves, to keep down costs, not only for the residents, but also make it where it would be acceptable and safe enough for the residents to walk by, but also not having to pay a large sum amount of money over 5 years. And as others have mentioned, we have 30-foot plus tall trees in our neighborhood, which are the problems that are pushing up some of these sidewalks. It is really overall not super bad. There are some areas that, of course, need some repair. But if it gets repaired, the roots will just push it up again because it's just nature. So even though you fix it the next spring, it will start pushing up again. So it's gonna be like almost like a never-ending process because you keep going back and back to it. So, and it would have to come back to the city and you guys will have to deal with it as well. So I think it would be beneficial to have the opportunity maybe just to pause it for a little bit to transfer this back. And now that we have all the information from all of you, what it would involve, that we could discuss this within the HOA and explain to every homeowner what would be involved with both opportunities. So I don't know if that's even an option, but I wanted to ask if that's even a possibility at this point.
Thank you. Thank you for comments, questions. Anyone else?
Hi, good afternoon. Andrew Etter, 3725 Mount Vernon Drive. I've been in the preserve for a little over 15 years. I've attended 14 of the 15 annual meetings of the HOA. I would have to go through all the old published meeting minutes, but in almost every one of the meeting minutes, it's been reiterated that the sidewalks are the owner's responsibility to take care of. I do have 2 young children. I've walked the sidewalks. We walk them daily. We rode in bikes. There are sections that are flat out dangerous for a lot of these little scooters, rollerblades, some of these little e-bike things. They're quite, frankly, they're dangerous. This subdivision has reiterated over the years that it's the responsibility of the homeowners. So we do have annual meetings. So I hope everyone that comes up here and requests such a special meeting also attends the annual meetings, because those are the places to have that discussion. I'll also comment that as the plat map was from 1994, I think our original bylaws are from 97. And how they were written back in 1997 makes them exceptionally difficult to modify now. We would require, I believe it's 90% of the HOA would have to be present to vote. So that undertaking to modify our HOA bylaws is a very, very difficult and unlikely successful route. And again, the homeowners have opportunities to fix their own sidewalks. They haven't taken that. And unfortunately, we are here today to fix a situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Etter. Anyone else?
$2695 Brentwood Drive, Pat Provo. I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So if you have 10 blocks in front of your house, you are only responsible for those 10 blocks, not the whole sub? They don't take those and divide it up between everybody? Is that correct, or we have no idea?
Well, we will cover that once we get all the questions. But yes, that's the dilemma here that we have. We'll talk about that, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close public comment for now, bring it up here, and probably a lot over there. So, kind of in general, a few of the questions were about that, I fixed the stuff in front of mine, I don't need to be responsible. I want to be really clear. The area I was referencing, where they are doing sidewalk repairs, that's the village, that's in the village of Lake Orion, and that's how they're doing it. They're painting slabs, and if you have a slab, you have to fix it, and there's a cost. That is, just to be very crystal clear, that is not what we're necessarily talking about here. Special assessment districts, and I'll let our attorney, Ms. Ellis, talk about it, talk a lot about benefit. And so there's lots of ways to understand the benefit. If you have them in your sub, can everyone benefit? If you live on a corner, is that your fault? Do you have to have twice the cost? Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Brittany? And then also, if you could, roll into the timeline and the process and public hearings. We did a public hearing this afternoon, but go ahead.
So essentially, we're at step 1 of the SAD process, and that's where your engineer is going to go out and look at the site and do a scope of work, as well as a cost estimate to do all of the repairs. And then we also have to, as part of that, we also have to get permission from our COC to undertake the work because it's within their right-of-way. So that's step 1. The next step, once all of that information is compiled, is it will come back to the township board to set public hearing 1 on the special assessment district. Once that happens, everyone who's included in the entire special assessment district, which I'll get into how that's determined, will be noticed, and they will have the opportunity to come in front of this board for special assessment district hearing 1, and the board will take public comment and objections to the scope of the project, i.e. the district boundaries, the cost estimate, and generally who's going to be included in the district. At that time, generally, the board gets a recommendation from its consultants as to who should be included in that district. That is determined by who is receiving a public benefit. So there will be an assessment done once the engineer gets out and does a scope of work and understands what the condition of this sidewalk is as to how many slabs need to be replaced and whether it's a benefit to the entire subdivision, so that every single unit in the subdivision should be assessed equally i.e. under the theory that everyone is receiving a benefit from the sidewalk repair. Or number two, that there are only certain areas that need to be repaired such that certain property owners are receiving a greater benefit, and that in that scenario, there may be a recommendation to assess by lineal foot. We won't know that, and this board will not have a recommendation until public hearing 1, and at that time, the preserved subdivision residents will have an opportunity to come and be heard on their objections to that issue. If that passes, that resolution 1 passes following the close of that public hearing, a second public hearing set, and that is on the assessment roll. The supervisor then prepares the assessment roll and brings it before this board, and again, the property owners have the opportunity to come and object, and they're noticed again. So there's a process here. There's a unique aspect under Ordinance 97 when it comes to sidewalks, and that aspect is that certain property owners, up into the time that we enter into a contract with the contractor, so even up until such time the assessment roll is approved, they have the opportunity to come and petition the board to be excluded from the SAD district on the basis that they're gonna make the repair themselves. They have to comply with township ordinances and they have to do it to our specifications, but if it's the township board's pleasure, they can entertain those requests to exclude certain areas of the sidewalk from the SAD. So that will be the process. There will be 2 more public hearings. There'll be 2 more opportunities for these property owners to come be heard, and they will also have an opportunity up until the time we enter into a contract, if we get that far, to ask to be excluded. So this is a long process with a lot of notice, 2 public hearings, and opportunities for these residents to be heard on the issues. I think that's it.
Couple of the questions, the transitional plan, Mr. Sharon asked about, we'll follow up on that. But I know we'd started that process, Mr. Stevens, a few years ago, I believe, inspecting different sections of the township each year. And we are making repairs regularly on the assets that the township owns, but again, not in neighborhoods. Including a huge, we shifted a bunch of these intersections to ADA in the last 10 years that, didn't used to have the rumble strips and the orange for, but like, I don't know the technical terms. As far as Mr. Martin's question about living on a corner and the road commission damaging the corner and the ADA corners, I mean, that's what this next step will do is we'll be using our township engineering firm, OHM, to go out and do all these inspections and figure out what needs to be fixed. Just the likelihood of RCOC participating is very slim, just being very, very clear on that. I don't want to bash them too much, but just as you all know, most neighborhoods have a private plow contractor because takes the road commission several days sometimes to get into the neighborhoods to plow the streets. It's a challenge with the road commission. They don't have a lot of funds to help in these regards, in these types of things. And as far as the people that have already paid and have regularly been fixing their sidewalks, I mean, that's the challenge we face here. I can tell you that all 7 of us live in the township. We get paid to do these jobs, but no one's getting rich doing it. The trustees barely get paid for their time here at these meetings at night. But none of us live in your sub, but that's the challenge we always have, is what's fair and equitable for everyone, and is it fair because someone has kept their section pristine and then other people haven't? And that's, once this assessment's done, that's what we'll flush out. I mean, you have someone that lives in the corner that might have thousands and thousands of dollars of repairs, and what if they can't afford to do them? And yes, it does go on the tax bill, then it does become a tax lien, and then they lose their house to tax sale if they don't pay their taxes after 3 years. So those are the real possibilities of this, and we can't tell you anyone today with certainty how this is gonna work. And a lot of the special assessment districts we have, everyone is paying. And that's why, going back to the HOA angle, our Parks and Rec director oversees our safety path millage dollars and maintenance of the main safety paths. He's the one that's been mostly talking with the homeowners association over the years. I mean, that's why it is preferable to try to do it that way, because then you guys are in charge of your own destiny. However, as was mentioned by a couple residents, the hammer that we have, the tool we have is we will collect the money, because it's gonna be on your tax bill. So we will have the money. So if you don't do it through dues or HOA assessing folks, and we agree it might be hard to collect, I'm not disputing that at all. That's the advantage of going through the township process, because the money will be collected. As far as the HOA board not notifying the residents, can we put a pause on this? I mean, this is the first step. This process can be stopped at any time, right, Ms. Ellis? I mean, until we have, like this evening, we did the public hearing on the cost estimate. That's the first official step of the Lake Orion Canals retreatment. We'll have a second hearing. You'll get a letter in the mail to your house telling you at 7:05 on August 4th, there's a hearing to do this. You'll all get official notices in the mail, but there's two hearings. The first hearing to talk about the cost estimate, and the second to actually set the roll. And you'll all have the opportunity to come and come to this podium and agree or disagree on how we're doing it and give input. So that's how that process will work. But yes, the HOA board can still be involved, and we'd love them to be. And I'm not saying they haven't been, because they've been responsive, but we understand the challenge, and certainly if it takes 90% residents to amend master deeds and bylaws, it's virtually impossible. Understood that. We understand that. As far as the HOA telling people that they're the homeowner responsibility, yes, I mean, that's a good practice. Assuming that people do the repairs, but some people can or don't understand that. Those are, I think, the questions. I don't normally do this, but are there any questions that we didn't answer tonight that you want to ask? Because I'm happy to take one step back. Just come forward, because these meetings are recorded and on TV, so it doesn't work to. If I miss a question or you want to ask one more question, please come forward, because I know you're all here and you've been here for more than an hour. I don't want to waste your time. Yes.
I would like to clarify one more thing.
Okay.
Which is, if the township decides we get to the point where the township will have to move forward with fixing the sidewalks and have the 5-year payment plan, basically for the homeowners to pay off over time, would those sidewalks be under warranty, and if so, how long? And what are the details in regards to that? Versus if we just hire our own contractors to take care of it, and if they offer a warranty to the homeowner directly?
Okay. All right, we'll get that question answered. Any other questions? We'll take all the questions. It just sort of keeps us on track where we don't have a lot of back and forth. Anyone else that we didn't get to answer a question? All right, Mr. Stevens, how will that work? Are there warranties?
Typically with public projects, there's something that's called a maintenance and guarantee bond for 2 years after the improvement is done. And that covers workmanship and material. So, if a big truck drops something on a sidewalk, cracks it, doesn't cover workmanship and materials. But if it's defective work or defective materials and it's within the 2 years, then that bond is in place on public projects to fix those issues.
Okay. Was there any, Mr. Stevens, anything else you wanted to add? And I'm not saying you need to, but any of the questions that were asked that I didn't pitch to you or that you want to chime in on? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you all for your participation. There will be more discussion on this, certainly. So the very next step would be a cost estimate, right? It would be a public hearing on the cost estimate like we did tonight for the Lake Orion Canals.
Correct, but usually you set that public hearing once you have the cost estimate on file. So once you have that on file, then you can set the public hearing.
Okay. So we will have something on our agenda. Mr. Stevens, do you have any idea on how long that would take?
I mean, I don't yet off the top of my head. I mean, it's not a ton of work to do that, but it's going to take time. I got to schedule it. So when I get back to the office, we'll get with our team and figure out a schedule and shoot you over an email.
30 to 60 days-ish, 60 days.
Yeah, I would say,
This is a
I would
busy
say
time.
less than 90, but
Okay.
there shouldn't be more than 30.
So a couple, 2, 3 months, then we would have probably on a consent agenda, just like we had tonight, setting a public hearing, and you would not get a direct notice on that, but you can see all our agendas online. And we would then, at a meeting, at a consent agenda, set the public hearing on the cost estimate. That you would get noticed, it'd be in the Lake Orion Review, you'll get a letter to your house, if you're in the district, or potentially in the district, and then that will tell you to come to a Monday meeting at 7 o'clock in November. I'm just making stuff up, and that will start the process. But yeah, we will do our best to make sure everyone is tuned in. And if members of the HOA board want to reach out and talk about the other option too, we're certainly happy to do that. Mr. Carson?
It was brought up that at 15 straight years at annual meetings, that it's been well-established. If there's minutes to those meetings, I mean, if they were done in Robert Rule meeting form, there's minutes for 15 years of people in the subdivision saying that they are responsible for their own sidewalks. I mean, wouldn't that set a precedence that, I mean, that's already the rule?
The problem is that the HOA has no ability to, it's my understanding, they have no ability to force them to fix their sidewalks. They can't go and fix the sidewalks and assess them, essentially. We have that authority, and we have to start that process under our ordinance once we get a report that a sidewalk is in disrepair.
And that's the challenge. Like we heard with the sub directly across the street, they wanted to try to do the roads kind of on the voluntary basis because they thought they could do it cheaper. You have one house that doesn't pay, they don't have a tool to force, where we do, you know.
Right.
But our rules are a little different, and you know, the benefit question is gonna be under a difficult one, to be really frank.
What's pretty clear, it's something that we have to do, as Chris mentioned, because we've been noticed, but the best path is for you, the residents, to take control, and you have an HOA board. I don't know the board, I don't know the strength of the board, but you're the community that self-governs what happens in that neighborhood. And so if you don't like the board, or you don't like the actions, you need to be involved and step up so that we don't have to assess something. There's obviously people on different sides of this that want different results and want this handled differently. We don't have a choice. We have one way we can handle it. And that's the path that we're on now. So it's incumbent in my mind that you go back to your board and kind of reassess and communicate that you guys want to control your own destiny, so that folks that have already repaired don't have to be part of repairing others, and folks that want to take care of their own property are willing to. That's great, and that'll save us from having to come in and say, no, this is how it has to be done now. So you still have control, and based on this timeline, you have a lot of control because there's time here. And I would just encourage you to either, you know, if you're not already on that board or involved, get involved, and this would be a great opportunity to you know, take your neighborhood back and guide the process so that we don't have to do it in a way that's going to upset some of you and make some of you, you know, happy.
Okay, Mr. Flood.
Yeah, I just got to thinking about all our other SADs, and we have numerous SADs. This is an unusual one, because all the other ones are initiated by the residents where the SAD's at, and they manage the whole thing. All we do is collect the money. They manage their contractors and everything else. So, but this one here is unique because of the health, safety, and welfare of a sidewalk in the state law, and that's why we have to be involved now, because once we've been aware of this, we have to address this head on.
Correct.
And one other thing too, on a SAD, you may want to explain to the audience, is the appeal process through the Michigan Tax Tribunal.
Well, to address your questions, number one, yes, the process for sidewalks is a little different because it's governed by both state law and our ordinance number 97. So once we receive a report that there's damage to a sidewalk, we have a process we follow. So this is step one. As to the Michigan Tax Tribunal appeal process, that's laid out in the notices that will go out to everyone in the subdivision, which essentially states that you have to appear and object to the SAD district if you want to preserve your appeal rights. That's what the law says, that's what our notices will say.
Okay.
I agree with everything Matt said. Get involved. I am a very small government guy, I think as a lot of people probably have gathered. And the thing that I'm struggling with is, you know, the gentleman that spoke earlier, he fixed his section, right? And now he's gonna potentially have to absorb some of the costs for everybody else. So, I'm very interested to know the sections that are clearly in need of repair, if the HOA would be willing to get a quote for those. Because if we get a quote from OHM on the repairs, we can see the difference, apples to apples. Well, not really apples to apples, but what actually needs to be repaired versus bringing potentially the whole thing up to code. So,
Yeah, because just driving through there, I would say probably less than 5% of the slabs are really in any need of repair. So, yeah, like you said, if we have to go through and bring it into compliance, then it would be a whole lot more that would need to be repaired. So I agree with trustee Pfeiffer, treasurer Pfeiffer, and trustee Lovett.
Raise money.
Yeah. Okay, all right, well, thank you all for being here, and our office is right here, and I think at least one person said this is your first time here. We're glad you're here. We're here to, the SADs are administered through the supervisor's office, right out to the left when you walk out of here, and our team can, Lizzie is at the front counter, and she'll help with questions, and we'll make sure we get questions answered. Thank you for being here. I know it's not fun, and we took a lot of time on a nice night from you all, but thank you for being here. There was a motion and support to at least start the process by Pfeiffer and Dalrymple. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Flood.
Yes.
Carson. Yes. Barnett.
Yes.
Hogendorf.
Yes.
Pfeiffer.
Yes.
Lovett.
yes.
Dalrymple, yes.
Motion passes 7-0. More from us soon. Thank you all for being here for that. That brings us to our reports. We have two tonight. First, our police and fire reports. All this information is available on our website, but I usually pop it up. You can just quickly look at it as we're scrolling through. Is there a motion to receive and file the police and fire reports?
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
Or
And you can give that to, who'd you give this support to? Love it?
Motion was Lovett.
Love it, and Hilgendorf. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. And the financial statements from the clerk's office, or motion to receive and file?
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion to receive and file the financial statements from the clerk's office.
Moved by Pfeiffer, supported by Carson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Brings us back to public comment. Anyone want to address the board at this time? All right, let's bring it up here for the board comments. We'll start with Mr. Lovett.
I got nothing, just enjoy the summer and be safe and do something kind for a neighbor.
Mr. Flood.
I would thank the residents for coming out tonight and expressing their concerns, and it's good to see Mrs. Hutchinson again. And Mr. Denellis, thank you, sir, for representing the village council. That's it.
Mr. Pfeiffer.
Continually reminded why I love this community that I've grown up in, and this weekend was was another example of what makes our community great. When people are hurting here, they come together, and they make a difference. And I'm, first of all, super excited about your program, Ms. Smith. You shared it with us a little ways back, and it was something I didn't even know was happening in our community, but I do understand the need, so I thank you and commend you and your team for your hard work. It really does make a difference for the underserved, and that's awesome. But also, there was a great event on Lake Orion this weekend called Dock Fest, and this was an event that started last year. This year's fundraising was geared towards helping a child that is fighting for his life to have a accomplish his wish, or to get a wish that he wanted to achieve in visiting Hawaii. And we'll, hopefully that's going to be able to happen, but that's going to be a challenging one. And then we also had a lot of people show up to help the Miller family, a family who Dennis is fighting cancer, and the community came out at the American Legion and raised money to help that family. So that's what makes this community great. That's why I love Orion, and thank you for coming out tonight.
Ms. Dalrymple.
Which brings it back to raising money for amazing projects here in our community. That goes back to Tommy Stock was this past weekend. We had such an amazing event out there, all the people who came. It still amazes me every time when people say, I never knew this was here. How long has it been here? I can't believe all the things that are here. So I'll let Carson talk more about that. But it was an amazing, beautiful night out there under the rocks and the stars, and it just looked so good out there. For all of the hard work that goes into that event. If you are ever interested in how to get involved and how to be a part of this group, let one of us know, because it's a passion to be out there and put events like this on in our community. And I think that's one of the things that makes our community so special, is that we all find these projects and think, like, this is how I can help in our community. The second thing was from NOHAS, from 719 at Kensington. I looked at it, and there were 66 people who identified themselves as first-timers at the NOHAS event, so that's great news that our community is recycling things carefully and using that system. And we had 241 Orion residents that participated in that event as well. So those pop up a few times a year, so pay attention to social media. But it's nice to see that we can help you clean out your garage, clean out the attic, clean out the basement, and find responsible ways to get rid of that stuff. And the last thing I had was that all of our local sports seasons have begun. So if you see kids out at Jesse Decker and Friendship Park and Civic Park and Atwater and all of our other fields, the sports season has started before the school year. So drive a little slower, catch a ball game or two or a soccer game. It'll make your heart feel good.
Thank you. Ms. Hogenor.
I just want to say thank you to all the residents who came out tonight and also who sent emails to have your voices heard. We do listen, and we appreciate that you're coming out. Other than that, just shout out to my husband for letting me borrow his vehicle to get here. So, thank you.
Thanks for the call, and sorry I couldn't
Yeah.
swoop you. We need a the township helicopter. But you got saved, so that's good. Mr. Carson.
I want to just touch on what Julia mentioned. I want to thank our entire board, to Friends of Camp Agawam, Mark Davis, Missy and Jay Berwick, Julia, Joanne Holmes, Matt Wong, Marshall Williams, Preston Osterman. Everyone works really hard to make this happen. But what really makes it happen is the community showing up and coming to our events, buying tickets, buying drinks, because you're the fuel that guides our ship. Without those donations, without the raising the money, nothing happens. So thank you to the community for coming out and helping the township. Parks and Rec, always great at giving us everything we need. And I keep hearing every time there's a band that hasn't been there, they compare it to coming to Red Rocks. So you want to talk about we're living the vacation. We have our own mini Pine Knob. We've got our own mini Red Rocks. I don't think Rochester Hills has anything quite like that.
Never heard of them. Thank you, and I apologize, I had some pictures from the weekend, but when my computer went into this forced reboot, those dropped off my power, the older, I went back, reverted to older versions, but it was an awesome weekend. Thank you to the people up here do so much more than just come to these meetings, and we're really blessed to have an amazing board of volunteers. Just a couple events to put on your radar. Our summer concert series at our Mini Pine Knob is still rocking and rolling. This Thursday is our free concert with 50 Amp Fuse, amazing group, 7 p.m. free at the Wildwood Amphitheater. Orion.events still has, a bunch more concerts?
Yeah, through September.
Yeah, so go to Orion.events and you can see all the upcoming concerts.
Bruno Mars, Michael Jackson this weekend.
There you go, Bruno Mars and Michael Jackson. Pretty awesome. And then a couple other things that community programs are working on, parks, their puzzle and game swap, garage sale. I had the privilege of being in Lansing a couple times in the last week, asking for funding. The projects we're working on are, the main focus right now is Clarkson Road. The state's looking at infrastructure funding. Fortunately, that doesn't trickle down to the neighborhoods, but one of the projects we picked and that we're really pitching hard is paving Clarkson Road east of M24. There's some real environmental touchiness over there with the runoff of the road and sediment into the Paint Creek, which is one of the few natural producing trout streams left in southeast Michigan. So, you know, prayers or fingers crossed or all of the above that they'll find favor with our testimony. And thanks to our state rep, Donnie Steele, who's been really great at getting us on the radar on some of the important local issues. And I had a few more things, but we've talked enough tonight. So for now, we'll be done. Thank you all the residents for coming out, and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:32.
So moved.
Support.
Moved Dalrymple, supported by Hilgendorf. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We are adjourned.